I never imagined I'd cross paths with my ex-wife again after our divorce was settled. We were married for almost 10 years, but the final years were unbearable. She constantly splurged on extravagant trips with friends, bought high-end designer bags, and pushed us deeper into financial trouble. Meanwhile, I was working grueling hours, giving up my personal time just to keep us afloat. Eventually, I reached my breaking point. The affection had faded, respect was non-existent, and all we did was argue. So I filed for divorce, and after a draining legal fight, we divided everything evenly. I paid her a significant settlement, and when it was done, I felt an immense sense of relief. Years later, my life had transformed for the better. I was financially stable, living modestly but comfortably. I'd rebuilt my savings, focused on my job, and even started dating again casually. Then, one ordinary weekend morning, I stopped at a convenience store for coffee. On impulse, I bought a lottery ticket, something I rarely did. When I scratched it off in my car, my heart nearly stopped. I'd won millions of dollars. It felt surreal. My hands trembled as I stared at the numbers, realizing my life had changed in a moment. The first thing I did was hire a lawyer. I wasn't going to make impulsive choices. I took every step to stay discreet, keeping my win as private as possible and securing my fortune. I avoided flashy purchases or anything that would draw attention. But despite my caution, word spread. Soon, my phone was buzzing with calls from distant cousins, old acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in ages, and shockingly, my ex-wife. At first, she played it sweet, talking about old times, saying she missed me, and even suggesting we might reconcile. I saw through her act immediately. She wasn't interested in me, she wanted my money. I kept our conversation brief and civil, but made it clear I wasn't interested. I thought that would be the end of it. I was mistaken. A few weeks later, legal papers arrived. My ex-wife was suing me for half of my lottery winnings. Her claim? That since we'd been married for years before our divorce, she deserved a share of my fortune. She argued that I'd occasionally played the lottery during our marriage, so my win was tied to a habit from our time together. It was an absurd, grasping argument, but she was serious. She demanded millions, despite our divorce being finalized years earlier. I was livid, not just about the money, but her nerve to reinsert herself into my life and claim what wasn't hers. I contacted my lawyer right away, who assured me her case was baseless. Still, we had to go through the legal process, and so began one of the most absurd court battles I've ever faced. In the lead-up to the trial, my ex-wife went all out to portray herself as a victim. She told mutual friends I'd abandoned her, cheated her out of the life she deserved, and claimed she'd supported me through tough times, a total fabrication. In truth, I'd been the one supporting her. She hadn't contributed anything to my achievements. Yet here she was, trying to profit from my good fortune. On the day of the hearing, she arrived dressed plainly, with a rehearsed look of despair, playing the role of a struggling woman wronged by life. She claimed she'd sacrificed years for our marriage and insisted we were always a team. She even shed crocodile tears, talking about her hardships since our divorce. I sat there, staying calm as my lawyer systematically tore apart her case. He presented evidence of our divorce agreement, showing we'd already split our assets fairly. He also proved we'd been legally separated for years before my win, meaning she had no claim to my money. Then came the decisive blow. Proof of her reckless spending during our marriage. Credit card records showing thousands spent on luxury goods, vacations, and shopping binges. Her expression faltered. She tried to interrupt, claiming it was irrelevant, but the judge wasn't swayed. I could see he saw through her charade. After a brief pause, he delivered his ruling. My ex-wife had no legal claim to my winnings. The case was thrown out. The moment the judge spoke, my ex-wife unraveled. She burst into hysterical tears, begging him to reconsider. She ranted about how unfair it was, how she was struggling while I lived in luxury, how I'd stolen what was rightfully hers. But no amount of drama could change the facts. As I left the courtroom, I felt a wave of relief. She'd tried to manipulate her way into my fortune, but justice had prevailed. I didn't look back as I exited the courthouse, certain I was finally free of her. I thought it was over. I'd won. My ex-wife had embarrassed herself, and the judge had shut her down. But I underestimated her desperation and spite. As I stepped outside, she stormed after me, her face flushed with anger. She screamed about how I'd ruined her life, how I'd been lucky while she suffered, how I was a cold, selfish man who didn't value her contributions. I ignored her, refusing to give her the reaction she craved. My lawyer advised me to walk away, and I did. I thought that was the last I'd hear from her. I was wrong again. Over the next few weeks, she flooded me with messages. At first, she tried guilt, claiming she was nearly homeless, unable to pay rent, and forced to sell her possessions to survive. When that failed, she changed tactics, reminiscing about our past, saying she still loved me and believed we could be happy again. It was laughable. She'd drained me emotionally and financially for years, and now she expected me to buy her act? I ignored every text, every call. When she realized I wouldn't budge, she turned vicious. She began spreading lies, telling mutual contacts I'd cheated on her, emotionally abused her, and rigged the legal system to cheat her. Some saw through her, but others, unaware of the full story, started treating me differently. It was maddening, but I refused to get sucked into her drama. She wasn't done yet. Weeks later, my lawyer called. My ex-wife had filed an appeal. I was floored. I thought she'd accepted defeat, but no, she was still chasing my money. My lawyer assured me her appeal had no merit, just a desperate ploy to get something from me. Still, we had to go through the process again. In court, the judge barely entertained her recycled arguments. She lacked the theatrical flair of before, looking exhausted and desperate. The judge dismissed her appeal swiftly and warned her that further baseless lawsuits could lead to consequences. That was the end of it. Defeated, she stormed out of the courtroom without a word. For a while, I worried she'd try something else. But eventually, she vanished from my life. I heard through mutual friends that she'd moved away, likely to escape the humiliation of her failed attempts. I didn't care where she went. I was just glad to be free. As for me, I've been living well. I invested my winnings carefully, avoided extravagant spending, and kept working because I didn't want money to change me. I've since met someone new, someone who values me for me, not my wealth. Best of all, my ex-wife is now just a distant memory. If I've learned anything from this, it's that money doesn't transform people. It reveals their true nature. In my ex-wife's case, it exposed her greed, entitlement, and lack of character. She thought she could claim what wasn't hers. In the end, she left with nothing.